This podcast is brought to you by Bernie's Tap and Grill. It's family owned and operated since 1954. Located across from Wrigley Field on Clark and Waveland. My dad hit a few home runs on the Waveland Avenue, and Bernie's was my dad's favorite place to go. It's got delicious food, 4 full-service bars, an awesome beer garden, a sidewalk patio cafe, and a cool upstairs area. It's the place I've always met my friends at before and after games. Go on by and tell Linda Dillman Jeff Santo sent you. Bernie's Tap and Grill, where you go when you go to Wrigley.
Sit back and relax. It's time for peanuts, popcorn, and Cracker Jacks.
Hey, how's it going? I'm your host, Jeff Santo. I'm here with my wife, Christy.
Hello, hello.
We have part 2 of Randy Hundley, which we talk about his camps, and it's just great stuff. And part 1 with Todd and Randy, I got to tell you, just love hearing that father and son stuff, because my brother Ronnie and I were in the same boat, and Ronnie's going to be my crackerjack today.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to ask him, because what I loved about what Todd said is he knew he was going to be a big leaguer when he was young, right? I want to ask my brother that question. When we were young and we were at Wrigley Field every day in the summer, did he think he was going to be a big leaguer? Because I know what my answer is. I want to know what his answer is.
Right.
So that's going to be interesting. And the Cubs. Let's talk about the Cubs.
Yeah.
You know, it's been such a strange season, but we kind of thought the Cubs were going to be better this year, right? They had a good lineup. Their starting pitchers, there were a couple in there that we thought, okay, they could have a chance. Bellinger, if he has a good year, all these things that had to happen are happening now, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I wrote them off a while back.
You did.
And I don't know why I did. I was just kind of frustrated, but I got to say this. It shows you that when a team has talent up and down the lineup, have some really gifted starting pitching, and have some good arms in the bullpen, anything can happen. It's all about, I look at baseball now kind of like everyone has to be on the same universal wavelength.
Mm-hmm.
They have to believe.
And it also the front of the house and the back of the house, and everyone, has to be part of that. When after the All-Star break, they were either buying or selling. And once they realized they were buying, the team got kind of boosted up.
Right. And when we did decide to buy, they pick up Candelario. I can never say that right. Candelario. And he's been great. Now he's slumping a little bit, but he came on strong, and he's a consistent hitter. And also guys like Morel. When I watch Morel hit, he's got such passion in his swing.
Oh, he reminds me of Baez.
Yeah, but better, because Baez, that passion became like not controlled passion anymore. You'd be up there like, okay, now he's swinging at anything. He goes for that outside slider every time. Not Morel. Morel has tendencies to do that, but when you see him, when he's in his groove, and when I call it like he has passion in his swing, you can actually see the passion in it. It's a different kind of swing. I feel like my dad had that swing too. He would just come out of his shoes, man, and he was all in with his swing. But my dad was controlled. He had a good eye. He knew how to walk. And when you have that passionate swing and you can control it, that to me is the ultimate hitter and ultimate ball player too. When you see the passion, but it's controlled,
it's fun to watch.
Yeah,
it's fun to watch.
It's fun to watch. Baez had that, but he lost it, and he never had it consistently. But this team, I feel that this team has that passion consistently. Like, they're all for each other. And if they stay in that groove and Ross makes the right decisions out of the bullpen, and I mean like the decisions like, I feel like that starting pitcher, whoever comes in for that starting pitcher after 6 or 7 or 5 is key if they're winning a ball game, if it's a close ball game, rather than the closer so much. It's that guy that comes out of the bullpen that's going to keep these
the
guys
momentum,
down. And I feel like Ross is getting a hang of that. He got better throughout the season, and I feel like if he lets these guys play and takes more risk in these last 20-some games, because I feel like a manager now has to really manage. He has to know his club and make the great moves that keeps that drive going. And, I feel like the Dodgers, what's his name does it every season, but when he gets to the playoffs, he kind of manages differently. I think now is the time to manage in a riskful way, not like analytics, it's more gut.
But like Roberts is a little too extreme sometimes.
Well, Roberts, no, he's all analytical. So when it gets to the playoffs, he doesn't know how to make that gut decision and go with the guys to keep them rolling. That's just my opinion. But I think Ross is dialed in now. This team could be dialed in. They can't lose 3 in a row like they just lost. They got to get back on the saddle. So these next 20 games are, I really believe it's like they all got to click.
And it's exciting to watch. It is so exciting to watch. This is my favorite time of baseball. This is when I love baseball the most.
Right?
I mean, it's such a fabulous game, and it's so in your head. I mean, you are thinking about every pitch, it's
the drama. Fun. The drama's there in the playoffs, and I think now with the way that they give the 2 byes to the 2 best teams in each league, I think that's great now because they deserve it. Yeah. And now that wild card round robin of 2 out of 3 of the 4 teams. Anything can happen there.
Anything can happen.
So, it's going to be great playoff baseball coming around the corner. Enjoy part 2 of Randy Hundley.
Enjoy.
Hey, everybody. I was in Encino, California the other day at a meeting. And I get out of there, and I'm hungry as can be, man. And there's traffic, L.A. traffic. And I'm thinking, I got to get some side streets here like my dad did in Wrigley. And I wind up at Coldwater Canyon and Riverside Drive, and there's Gino's East Pizza. Boom, park the car, go inside, and I order a tavern pizza. Cheese and sausage, my favorite, top 3 foods of all time. And there's the owner, Dan and Todd, and they're like, hey man, you're on the TV. I'm like, yeah, right guys. They love to razz me once in a while. And sure enough, I was. My dad's documentary from MLB was playing. But I had no time for that. I had to eat my pizza. I devoured that thing in a minute. I was so hungry. You got to go to Gino's East for the greatest pizza around. Gino's East, LA. Put it in your Google's map right now. It's going to be our place to go, me and Christy, on Friday's happy hour. Go to Gino's East, right near Coldwater Canyon and the 101. Put it in your Google's map now. We'll see you there. They broke the mold with him.
With your dad?
Yeah.
Yeah, they did. They did break the mold with him.
He was born to play baseball, man, just like you were too. You know, some guys are. Some guys are just born for their path.
You know, I'm playing golf with them out in Arizona. And I don't know, about the 12th hole, par 3, 220 yards. And I tee the ball up, and I fidgeted with it a little bit and tee it just exactly right. And I knocked this ball in the hole. And we were heading into the sun, and you couldn't see whether or not it was in a hole. Your dad hit a bad shot, and so we get up to the green. I said, just sit here for just a minute, Dave, and I'll be right back. Then, so I thought the ball went in the hole. It wasn't anywhere around where we could see it. And sure enough, I walk up there and the ball's in a hole. Can you imagine how he didn't say a word to me?
A little bit of a competitor, right? Oh.
Yeah. I won like $350 off of him that day. I carried it around in my pocket for the longest time. This is the money that Santo paid me for playing golf. It would upset him so much.
Oh, that's great. That is great. Going back to 69, Randy, me and you were going to talk about this at one of your last camp, I think. I was like, I want to talk to you about the Don Young game. You're like, all right. And then I had that issue with my AFib. And we never talked about it. Now, do you think in that game, from everything that happened, that my dad got kind of it was a little hard on him, how that went down?
Yeah, I think it was a little hard on him, but that was your dad. I mean, that's just the way it happened for him. And when Don Young dropped the first fly ball, it was a tough play. The ball was against the fence in Shea Stadium, and he had it in his glove and ran into the fence, and it knocked the ball out of his glove. So I didn't think much about it at the time because I knew he was giving it the best effort he could. And then another ball was hit, and I think he broke back on the ball, and that can happen every once in a while. So I left the stadium that day, and as I'm walking out the door, and then I remembered I had to get something out of my locker. I go back in, and Jerry Holtzman is walking out. He just says to me, "Wait till you see this article tomorrow." And I thought, well, what the heck is that supposed to mean? And I didn't see the guys that night, and I wondered what in the world was going on. And then Leo calls a meeting, and then your dad gets up and talks and apologizes for making any statements, and it kind of flabbergasted me. I didn't know what in the world was going on. I didn't hear anything about it until that meeting.
Wow. Okay.
And I thought we had cleared that up for him, and I guess we didn't clear it up for him.
Yeah.
And it just went from bad to worse that particular day.
Yeah. You know, Randy, the thing about that, I think that a lot of people didn't know, because I did a lot of research on it. And obviously, I talked to my dad about it when he was alive, but I've read the books and everything. And after my dad passed away, I really even wanted to know more about it. And, you know, he even told me, you know, he mentored Don Young in spring training. You know, Leo told him, take the kid under your wing because the kid can't really hit, but we need him in center. So they had a good relationship. And then that particular game that was going on, it was the first ball that, he jumped back on, and Boswell hit a double that dropped in front of him. But it was during the game, Jim Hickman came into the dugout and said he was telling Don Young to move over, and he told him to F off. So he went to my dad and told him that. So my dad's like, you know, get your head in the game. I think there was a lot of factors there to that. When the game was over, Don Young wanted to walk out in his uniform, and my dad stopped him, said, get back to your locker. And then when Leo said what he said about the kid, saying my 2-year-old could have caught that ball, he just dressed real quick and got out of there. And I think my dad was more upset that the kid left, like his attitude. And obviously what he said, you know, it was basically the truth, but you just don't say those things because they'll take it out of context. You know, he said maybe the kid's head wasn't in the game or whatnot. And I hope he keeps walking, like you said in the book, because he was upset. But
right.
And I even read that Don Young felt that he didn't deserve to be in the big leagues. And I was just wondering with you, with that kind of team you guys had, why would John Howland go for a rookie center fielder that was basically out of the game in '68? And then, you know, I guess Adolfo Phillips got hurt in spring training, but don't you think that was a big risk with the team that you guys had that was built for so many years to put a rookie in center?
No, I don't think it's a big risk.
Okay.
If the other guy is not playing that well, and Adolfo wasn't at that particular time.
Oh, okay.
Something happened with Leo and Adolfo. We used to play Crazy Eights on the plane. Leo, Adolfo, and myself. You know, Crazy Eights is just it's the blooming kids game, and
right.
Nothing to it. But I noticed a change in Leo towards Adolfo, and I never did know what caused that change. And so Don Young was a good outfielder.
Right.
He when got the ball, I think the hitting may have upset him a little bit more than it should have, but I think he took it pretty well with what was going on at that particular time. And they sent your dad home because they heard that he was getting death threats and everything else at that time, and they thought it would be better for him to go home and not come in with the team the next couple days. And it was, Jeff, this stuff gets to be a big matter when things don't go well for the team.
Right.
And particularly in winning. We didn't win ball games during that time and lost a couple that we should have won, and missing the fly ball was one of the big problems for us.
Yeah.
And I think it was just taken out of context at the time and was blown up a lot bigger than it really was.
Right.
And I think Don Young him because he was fighting to play all the time, and to make statements that he didn't try hard enough, didn't give 100% on the ball, I think was the upsetting thing for Don Young. And it would be for me too if somebody were to say that about me, not giving 100%. I would not want that. That would be the one thing that I wouldn't want to hear. And I don't think your dad, by any means, meant, for it to disturb Don Young as much as it did, or the rest of the ball club, because I didn't hear about it until the next day.
Right. Yeah. 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 No, he definitely didn't. He definitely didn't. Yeah. No doubt about that. Yeah.
And I think Holtzman wanted to write something about that and accuse Ronnie of, not doing the right thing by saying something about Young or too young or whatever. But I didn't realize that Ronnie had worked with him in spring training and times, trying to help him get along. I didn't know that had happened.
Yeah.
Well, I just think that a lot was put on Ronnie, your dad, with the Don Young thing, because your dad was the captain of the ball club, and if anybody's going to say anything, he would be the one to say it. And but that's the crazy thing about baseball, because I think Don Young probably gave it that particular play 96 on a scale of 100.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a tough play. And then when he broke back on the other ball that was hit in front of him, that's worse than the one on the wall.
Right.
So, it's just a strange game.
It is. And I think also, if Young's attitude wasn't so down, I think Leo, you did talk about Leo. What Leo did say, to all the reporters, I think that's what made the kid upset, and, my dad's hard-nosed about, discipline in baseball like yourself, and maybe he just thought the kid was, I felt like he thought he was giving up after the game, kind of like he wanted to quit. So,
it's upsetting when you hear other players say something about your play. Management, coaches, when you hear something about, them getting on a player, that's a different deal. But a player to player, that's
yeah. But Young didn't hear my dad get on him. Young didn't hear any of it. So that wasn't the case.
I didn't think so either.
Yeah, no, he didn't hear any of it. So that's not true. Yeah, on that level, Young didn't hear any of it until afterwards. When it became the reporters and all that kind of stuff said something, because it didn't happen until Young was way out of the locker room. That's why it happened. So, but anyway, just getting back to that season, it feels, that was one game, but you guys had a great year. And I remember as a kid, just the environment and everything. And at the end of the day, Randy, you just think you guys just got tired at the end there?
Yeah, I think we were worn out, Jeff. I know I was worn out. And somebody else should have been catching at times that I was catching. And it's hard to, and when things are not going well, you say, what's going on? What are we doing wrong? And I think we had some players that could have been in the lineup. And
yeah. Randy, let's talk about Betty. You dedicated the book to Betty. She was your high school sweetheart.
Yeah, she was my high school sweetheart and the best person that I could have ever been with.
That's wonderful, man. Yeah. I really felt that in the book, and how she was the goodness to your hard-nosed baseball life,
Yeah, she was. When I was managing, and I was at AAA, and C.B. Davis had told me he was going to come in and make changes for me and get me some players. And the morning I go down to his room to talk about getting players, he says, we're going to make changes with the manager too. And I was flabbergasted. I couldn't even talk rightly. And I get back to my room, I called Betty, And he said, what? Says, you go back and tell him that he is full of it and you're not going to stand for it. And I ripped into him like you couldn't believe. She motivated me to do that. And that's how tough wives have to be when stuff like that goes on.
Exactly. And, it's just after that moment, that's when I talk about kind of your hard luck there, not being able to manage the Cubs. You work your way up, and then they let you go right when you're at AAA. And that moment there was tough for you and your family. And that's when you came up with the idea for the fantasy camps, which became like an open door you never thought was going to open, which is a miracle.
Exactly. Exactly. I went to the winter meetings to trying to find a job, and I was scheduled to be there for 3 days. I was there for a day and a half, and I said, take this and shove it, because I'm not going to beg for a job. And C.B. Davis mistreated me as far as I'm concerned. So things like that happen, and you have absolutely no control of. But I wasn't going to sit there and take that stuff.
Yeah, and then your next life was born, Randy. And talk about the camps. The camps, I was there at the first one. I got to witness that. I went with my dad, and I got to tell you, man, what you've done there. I mean, you've changed lives, people's lives, and you made a difference. Not only as a player, but then after the game, which is amazing.
Yeah, it was an eye opener for me to get the fantasy camp started, and we only had like 60 campers in that first camp, because I didn't want it to overrun itself and not be what it turned out to be. And we've been very lucky that, Jeff, it's amazing how long I had thought about doing that, well before it ever came about. I mean, even when I was a player, I thought, man, we ought to do something for guys on the street that would like to know what it's like being in the big leagues, and it worked out well for us.
It sure did. You invented the one-handed catching, and you invented the fantasy camps, Randy. Amazing.
Yeah, I must tell you, I'm proud of both of them, and yet, I don't get any credit for it, but that's okay.
I think you do, Randy. I think a lot of people out there are giving you credit every day. The ones that are there, that were there, and still came every year. I mean, campers came year after year. You had like people that were going to 20+ camps.
Yeah, I have Dr. David Fishman. He's been to every camp we had except one, and and he's had some major injuries at camp too. But I'm proud of what we've done with the camp. Every other major league club has done fantasy camps and copied the idea from us. So
yeah,
we're very proud of it.
And you had a lot of great players that came through, starting with the '69 team to the '84 team to Kerry Wood and all those guys. Over the years, generations of ball players and generations of families, and and also generations of celebrities. Talk about that.
Yeah, we have had some great celebrities come and participate and have a great time at it. It's I've missed 2 years of it with the COVID, and the last year tried to do it, but I didn't have the Cubs cut me out of the field to use the fields, and I don't know why, but they did, and
wow,
that's put a damper on it for us, and didn't get to do a camp last year, but we're trying to do one that's coming winter.
Oh, good. Why would that happen, man? They should name the going forward too. They should name this for the however long it should always be called the Randy Hundley Fantasy Camp. I don't know why they wouldn't do that, man.
I don't know either. I don't understand it, but just live with it, and they're taking the fun out of baseball for a lot of people, and we were the first ones to do the camp, and
Right.
then it makes us look like we did something wrong. I don't know what I did wrong.
You did nothing wrong, Randy. What they're doing over there is wrong. It's just they're wrong. So no, what you did was nothing but right. And I was there. I witnessed a lot of camps. And after my dad died, you had me and Ronnie come to the camp, which really helped us out a lot.
Yeah, it was great having you guys there, and you guys played well and did a good job.
Yeah. And then even the camp, Eddie Vedder's been going there for years, Chris Chelios, John Cusack, but Eddie even wrote the song All the Way from your camp, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah, he wrote the song from the camp. He's been a great participant. I just really enjoyed knowing Eddie all these years. He's just a great person.
He sure is. And boy, so you're going to try and do it this year again, and the Cubs aren't giving you the fields right now.
Yeah, no, they won't let us use the fields.
That's ridiculous, man. That's ridiculous. I'm sorry to hear that, Randy. But
I appreciate it.
I know it'll work out for you some way because you'll make it happen, and the people around you will make it happen because you got a lot of good people that have supported you over the years with the camps. So, they're beautiful. Every time I go there, it just brings me back to my childhood, and everyone has a ball, and it's just a beautiful time.
Yeah, it is, and it's a beautiful time for the former players too to be able to get together.
Yeah.
And get on one another. And
those pre-meetings before the camp start are so funny over the years. What goes on in there? Just great stories for everyone to go home with too. And everyone's open and friendly, and you're right. They get an experience that they've never would have had without these fantasy camps. And actually get to meet the ball players that they watched growing up and, we're big fans of, to see them personally, to get to know them personally. And that's what that camp's all about, and I think that's what your time of baseball though was, Randy. Don't you believe? I mean, you guys mixed in with society back then. You guys were middle-class guys.
Yeah, we did. I'd like to just mention the fact that we lost Joe Pepitone this past winter. He passed away in his sleep, and I had talked to him about 3 weeks before that happened, and man, you're talking about getting hit hard with losing a friend.
Right.
I miss him so much, and I just wanted to mention Joe Pepitone.
Yeah. Absolutely, Randy. Yeah, he's one of a kind, and
have you ever been around anybody like Pepe?
No, never. No, never. No, and I tell you, when we were kids, in the clubhouse with you guys, me and Ronnie, I remember going to the airport, and then, he had that Wee magazine Playmate. He rode the motorcycle, and and he had a lot of talent too.
Well, let me tell you, he did. Leo comes down to the locker room one morning, and he wants me to. Pepe drives his motorcycle right in and parks it right next door to Leo's door. And so Leo calls me to his office, and I walk up, and I said, well, was he trading me, or what is going on? And I walk in his office. I don't pay any attention to the motorcycle. He says, Killian, let me show you something. He says, you see this motorcycle? This is why Pepe's not hitting right now. His hands are getting tired, holding onto this motorcycle. He said, I want you to go and talk to him and tell him I'm going to call a meeting and I'm going to get on him, but I don't want him to say a word. Just take it and go. Jeff, it was an all-time clubhouse meeting. Leo says what he's got to say. He gets on your dad a little bit about it's going to have a Ron Santo day.
Oh, yeah.
And Neil Pappas stands up and says something. Pepe, I'm looking at Pepe and I'm saying, don't you do it, Pep. Don't do it. He stands up. He says, well, Leo, you know, Ralph Houck was the manager in New York, and he said he never did do anything like this to his players. And I said, holy cow. Then Leo turns to your dad and says, well, how about you, Santo, having a Ron Santo day during the season? With that, your dad gets up and goes after Leo.
Oh, man. Yeah, that'll do it. Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Wow.
So, holy cow. And then we had to call John Holland down to say something to the team and had to prove to the ball club that Santo had negotiated a day for him on the field. I'm telling you, it was the worst clubhouse meeting I've ever been involved in. And I felt responsible because Leo comes to me and wants me to go talk to Pepe. And he just sit there and keep his mouth shut. But no, he couldn't do that.
Yeah, it seemed like Leo kind of at that time, he kind of wore his welcome at that time, huh? Starts getting on that many guys.
Oh, yeah. He was getting on everybody's nerves at that point in time.
Yeah. You know, it's just, Randy, I got to say, hanging around you guys and being able to be in the clubhouse and having that childhood was something else for us. And you guys were wonderful men. I learned a lot from you just watching you. And
well, you were wonderful just coming around and taking the stuff that you had to take, being Ron Santo's son, and it was good having you and Ronnie both around, and you guys had a lot of fun around the clubhouse.
We did. And, Randy, it's been such a pleasure talking with you, Randy.
Well, you too, Jeff.
Yep.
And we got to do more of it.
We do, Randy. And I hope you get that camp going this coming spring or winter. But it's gonna live on forever, no matter what, Randy. I just want to tell you that. I know that. So, I hope I see you soon.
Thank you, Jeff. I look forward to seeing you and Ronnie both. I look forward to seeing you guys, and we'll have some fun together.
We sure will, Randy. All right, man. I'll talk to you soon. Love you, Randy. All right. Tell Todd I said hello, and I'll be talking to you soon. Okay. Hope to see you soon.
I'll tell Todd hello, and I love you too, pal.
All right.
Take
awesome,
care.
Randy. You too, Randy. Bye.
Bye.
That moment was brought to you by the Audio Suite, a sound recording, design, editorial, and mixing company for film, broadcast, advertising, music, podcasts, audiobooks, and multimedia industries. The Audio Suite provides high-quality services at cost-effective solutions to meet your post-production needs. Voiceover, narration, ADR, sound design, sound effects, editorial and sweetening, recording, mixing, mastering, audio restoration, and more. The Audio Suite will get you to the finish line on time and on budget. Steve Harrison, owner, designer, mixer, has decades of experience and has worked with various clients from HBO Films to Penguin Random House, to us, Santo Films. When we needed post-production mastering for our independent film Dead in 5 Heartbeats, the Audio Suite was our go-to place. Steve is knowledgeable, reliable, and always delivers the highest quality. Go to www.audiosuitestudios.com. We highly recommend.
Crackerjack.
This call is being recorded.
Hello.
Oh.
Mom, you're picking up Ronnie's call? What is he? What's going on with that?
Goodbye.
No. Hello.
This call is being recorded.
Ronnie.
Yeah.
You're my crackerjack.
Again.
Yes, yes, again. Yes,
All
again.
right.
I need an emergency crackerjack, and I'm going to you. So
I got you. All right.
What are you doing?
I'm just pulled up to Mom's. Anyway, they're going to have dinner, but
okay,
that's cool. Anyhow,
okay. Hey, I was talking to Randy Hundley. He was my special guest, and had him and Todd in the first part. You're in part 2 of Randy, and we're talking about his fantasy camps, man. How that became such a amazing thing. When did we go? We got invited after Dad passed away in 2010.
2011.
2011. Yeah. That was pretty cool being a part of that. What do you think of all that? Did we win it that year?
Yeah, we actually did. No, I thought it was great. I remember thinking I wish we would have done that because we were old enough.
Right.
Could have done it when Dad was still going there to the camps, which would have been really fun. But that was a great time. That how many we've been to? Like, I think 3 or 4. But that was, I think, for some reason. Well, the next year was good too when Dad got in the Hall of Fame. The following year too. So, but that first one, like I said, our team went 10-0 on top of it, and that was great. Yeah.
Who was our manager that we won it that year? Was that Pete Lecoq?
Pete Lecoq.
Right?
Yeah.
And was Rick Russell our one of the coaches too? I think he might have been. Yeah, might have been the two of them. Yeah.
Right.
But I think it was.
It sounds like it.
And then we've been there. The last time we were there was 2020, just before COVID.
Yeah.
And we had a great team that year. We had you, me, Ed, and Chelios, and I think Engels was a good guy. Yeah, Engels was great out there. But anyway, we were going to the championship game, but you get sick, and then Ed and Chelly had to leave to a concert. So I was like the only one left with a few other guys, and we still got to the championship game, and then I had heat stroke, and then we got beat by Joey Banks' team, which they were loaded.
Yeah, because I remember we beat them during the week earlier, but I got sick, and then Ed and Chelios had to go, and then we were down anyways I think we only had 13 on the team, so
we thought we'd get another one. That would have been 3 for us. We had 2 before that, and that would have been 3 for us. But Joey deserved one. We'll give it to Joey. Let him have that team. That team, though, did seem like it was stacked with a bunch of campers that have played together for like 20 years. Didn't it feel like that? But
I think so. Yeah. But we did also have that one. Unless you weren't there, I was on an 0-10 team with Robin. I remember that one year. Yeah. Oh, that was brutal.
Yeah. Thank God I wasn't there. Yeah. Yeah. No, but those camps were great, and it's pretty amazing a lot of how. It almost feels like it takes you back to like our childhood. Just kind of feeling the same kind of way.
Oh yeah, it was. I really enjoyed it because it really got you, especially playing on the spring training fields that the Cubs use. The weather was great. And January, all the campers are great, a lot of fun, and then just as fun as the after. Hanging out after and with the campers and the hotel and all that stuff. It was a great thing that Randy did. I remember going to the first year, the one in '83.
Right. Yeah. We went.
It was. That was when he pretty much had almost all the original '69 team, and they played at the old Scottsdale Stadium for that game.
Yeah, that was amazing. And just think he invents that, right? And then all the other teams are doing it now, and and he's trying. He says he's going to try and get one this year. He's trying, but somehow he's not be able to get he's not getting the fields from the Cubs for some reason, which is crazy. Yeah. So
it might be the time of year he's asking for it. Who knows?
Yeah. But he's trying. He's trying. If he does, I said we'd be there. So if it's going on,
well, especially if it's out here.
It's going to be. Yeah, for sure. Exactly. It's going to be in your backyard. So. Here's the thing. I was talking with Todd, too, and I asked him a question, which his story is fascinating to me. Him making it and all that, and Randy teaching him the one-handed style.
But he said something to me about like I asked him, did you think you were going to be a major league ball player? And he said, yeah, I knew it as a kid. I'm like, wow. Did you ever know that or think that when we were growing up? No.
No.
You didn't? Never.
No, never.
Wow.
I mean, we wanted to, especially as when you were in like grade school and that, but I never.
Right.
You know, I mean, it was a different. Well, you know, Todd is like Linda's age, so that's 9 years younger than me, and you know, even 9 years difference. You know, Todd. I mean, because Todd played even into the mid '90s, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, in the 2000s. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. See, so I mean, that was when things became. You know, when I grew up, yeah, as you know, you remember, we played every sport, and that was it. Once the sport was over, you didn't think you just went into the next sport. No one stayed and worked over, you know, stayed with one sport and worked all year round on it. I mean, remember when we were talking, I remember even, you know, even when we played, it was like no one took, it's like we did practice left, and it was like, you know, and then you practice during the season in between games. You play your games and then go, and it was like you didn't think anything after it. It was just like, you know, I don't know. It's just, you know, nowadays, like when we watch our nephews or when we did, of how, you know, they're playing all year round.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt.
Going to those hitting camps and stuff like that. I just remember, like, you know, really like, just showing up, and like even in the summer leagues, we just show up a half hour before game time, warm up and play.
Oh, I know. Yeah. But it doesn't take away though, like it doesn't take away like when we were growing up, that's all we knew. I mean, we're you know, me and you are growing up in a big league clubhouse. So we think that's maybe going to be our life, right? I don't know. I mean, when do you really register that as a kid?
Yeah.
But when did you like, because you were a good athlete. Man, I mean, you were definitely the best. I mean, you were a better athlete than me, and I was a good athlete. You were a really good athlete. You were good at football. You were good at hockey. You know, you were good at a lot of things. And you also had that kind of fire, that trigger, that temper that Dad had more than me, I think, is that hair trigger, kind of like killer instinct.
Yeah.
You kind of had that. You did. You had the same kind of volcanic thing that was going on with Dad. So you never thought, like, okay, you know, maybe I could be a big leaguer?
No, like I said, from now that you think, no, I really didn't. And like I said, you know, I mean, that temper doesn't really, I mean, it definitely, I remember, helped me in football for sure. Right. You know, certainly during, you know, the grade school and junior high areas, because I remember, you know, just enjoying hitting people. And it kind of took, as you know, I was pretty angry young man, even through high school with all the. So I was definitely a sport you could take out, but you know, baseball is different. No, like I said, I don't think. You know, it was like, you know, like I said, of course, you know, everyone, we loved it and we grew up with it, especially, you know, we played it all the time with the wiffle ball and then fast pitch against that. So, you know, I think, you know, again, from what I think, it was just we played it because it was just natural in that. But there was other sports that I have to say, like I said, I really enjoyed, like I said, football in the early years, and then playing hockey. You know,
Why didn't you play football farther in high school? What happened there?
I was.
What was the reason for that?
Because I was always inhibited, you know, with my size. I always.
So that bothered you, because you didn't matter. You were fast. You weren't, you know, 5'8", 5'9". You know,
yeah, it's 5'8", 5'9", but I wasn't. You know, I didn't realize. You know, didn't fill out until college.
No, I know, but you always had that. Like, even when we were playing the younger football, you were the dominant force out there. You know, there's always one kid out there that kind of, you know, who's, you know, pulling the load.
Yeah, but that was with you guys. You guys were 2 years younger, and once I got into high school, you know, and kids are starting to get bigger and bigger than you, and that's why I, you know, as you know, it always was, you know, that did cause, you know, a lot of lack of confidence, and always bothered me was not being able to.
Did you compare that to Dad? Did you compare like your size to him?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
I compared it there, and then in high school, that's why when I played freshman year, I was like, guys like, the friends I grew up with, everybody was putting on more weight and stuff like, how we have buddies that matured later, I was definitely one of them, but height-wise too, I was, I knew I wasn't going to be much taller at a certain point. So, and that it even inhibited me or going into when I went to junior college for baseball. You go there and now you're getting people from all around, and it's like, geez, everybody seemed like they were 6 feet tall, know?
Right.
And that's why, which is crazy, is that's why after my first season there, I went to the gym, came back home, and then, got so obsessed with fitness, which is now, I've been that way ever since. Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
And that was kind of the show, like, I'm going to get size because that you want to be bigger. But again, still at your side, there's been a lot of players at your size that have made it to second base and stuff.
Yeah. Oh, nowadays. There wasn't a lot, I think, back then that I remember. Maybe Joe Morgan.
I got you. Yeah.
Ron Say and that. But nowadays, I agree. But nowadays, I think, too, there's no doubt. I mean, like I said, if you fast forward when I went and started playing 12-inch softball, it was a total different thing because by that time, I was secure with my size as far as, strength and weight and then putting in the work. And I just didn't have that as in grade school or high school. My mind just was not focused on anything.
Yeah.
And that's what I think, like you said with Todd, and nothing against Dad, but, Dad wasn't, he was too busy being, who he was. It wasn't, I think with Todd in that generation, Randy had more time to, be like a typical father is nowadays, where they're, and especially if you have a professional baseball player as a dad, working with you, that's huge.
They're huge. Yeah. And do you think, like, if we got some of that, what for yourself? I mean, I know what I would feel like, but for yourself, if we got that, you think that would have been an edge that would take you farther? That you wish you kind of had? Yeah.
It would have. I think it would have certainly farther. But there again, it's still going to come down to your ability. And,
right. I know.
I know. And as you know, I think you had more passion for the game than I did. Yeah. That's a big thing too.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But sure. I think, you take though that I think the one thing that both of us missed out on, and I could say that is the guidance of the mental, toughness that ball players need. I don't think Dad really transferred that, like, take this and this is the thing to do. Not like you said, nothing against him. It wasn't like he didn't come out and support us and watch us, but there wasn't that.
Well, even
tutelage.
that, not to interrupt.
Yeah.
Even that, he didn't show. Oh, I don't know about you. I mean, he wasn't able to come to many games, especially me when I was in grade school. Yeah. He couldn't do it unless he sat in the car. Right. High school, I can maybe remember a couple games he was at, and that was it. So, it was, again, it was just, because of who he was and stuff like that. But I think, too, Dad was always, especially with me, because he gave me the same name, because he always would say, I regretted giving you, putting that pressure with the same name and stuff like that. So I think he almost did the opposite and just, like, shunned away from steering me towards that. Yeah. And that. So.
Yeah. Which is tough. Which is tough for you because at the same time you got the name. It's not like it's going to go away.
Oh yeah. It never
so it's like he kissed it, he gave you the name, but it's like you still got it. And so.
You got it forever. I mean, even
right. It's like, so don't ignore it now. I think that's the time to press the pedal, man, harder down. I don't know.
Well, you had no choice.
I know.
With that, and but again, like you said, you got to have the passion for it, and I just had a lot of other things I like doing too. But again, we just had no direction. No one was pushing us, and we've talked about that, and I mean, now and then, I remember asking Dad about hitting kid, but I can count that on one hand.
Yeah,
that we did that.
Yeah,
so
one hand,
again. Yeah, because it sounds like I even talked to Todd of how, Randy was, certainly, a lot more involved in that. But And again, too, you look at the guys, these players like, Barry Bonds, and then, and then some of these other players that are playing. You remember those kids, Bichette and Guerrero. I mean, those kids were on the field, taking BP and that, and stuff like that. We weren't able really to do that much.
No, but we were around it a lot, though, which is good.
Oh, we were totally around it all the time. Yeah. But they seem to be, like you said,
almost trained from the start. Yeah. Trained.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You're right. And I think with Ernie too, we talk about it. Ernie's world was big. It rotated big, and Dad's did too. So we had a lot of people in our world, but going forward,
Joey and Jerry Banks. I don't know if you remember when we were kids. They were really good. I remember because they were only, I think, a year older than me, but I just remember how they could throw and hit. That's a perfect example. Because again, Joey came out here too and played the year before me at Scottsdale Community College, and that was it. So I just think the same thing happened. Is you get so, you just burn out from it, and trying to do it on your own.
Yeah, and I think too, like talking about Todd, his dad, Randy's dad taught him, right? And so it's like I was talking to Randy about the difference between him and Dad, because sometimes they would butt heads, and I said, telling Randy, basically, you're a country guy, my dad's a city guy, but your dad got you the bigs, and we don't even really look into what got Dad to the bigs. His dad left him, right? He had that kind of angst, and so it's a way different kind of. He got there really on his own kind of. I don't know what it was, but it had a lot of energy to it. What's that?
I think also, Dad's was God-given talent. His ability just got him there, and I think too. A lot of Dad was such a good athlete that it was just he was God-given talent, whereas people like Randy probably worked more at it. He didn't probably have all the natural talent, and had someone work with him in that, and kind of reminds me reading that thing about Ted Williams, of how Ted Williams never succeeded as a manager because he always thought everybody should. He can't teach it. He just because it came so easy to him when he tried it. People he couldn't teach it to someone. Because he'd be bewildered why they couldn't understand it or do it. And that's why you look at a lot of the good managers were so players. Right. They can teach it. So Dad and Ernie couldn't really teach it because for them it was really a lot of their upbringing, and so much of that is how do you teach that, it's also as you know, there's just people that just have it. Too the talent. So,
do you think like the world that we grew up in, it was so big, and everyone kind of did, and then when it got smaller later in lives, did that affect you at all? Like it became something different from what we were used to growing up in? Did that have?
What would it meaning as kids and then as adults?
Yeah, I mean like thinking like what are you going to do in your life? Like I always thought that kind of world was always going to exist, and kind of I think just looking back at it, I'm like, wow, I didn't know like the transition out of that baseball world and mindset is it takes a long time to go into something that you really want to love and do. I don't know. Do you have that effect at all for you?
Well, I kind of stayed in, I jumped around different jobs, as you know, but then when I finally went into, the sports promotions, memorabilia, and then handling, all Dad's affairs, that seemed, way more comfortable and normal than it did for the jobs I had, before. I felt like I was just bouncing around till I found something. And that was much more natural just because obviously the connections, name and stuff like that. So, I think too, difference with you and me is even the world, it changed obviously because Dad wasn't playing anymore, but I with the same name, I always still, even, later in life, was always still getting it, because of the same name, now and then, you know what I mean? That type of thing. So that kind of always was a little there all the time.
Right.
You know, for me. Not so much now, obviously.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, you know, I almost feel like I look back at it now at the ages we're at, you know, and I think back to like more when I was a kid, me and you always hanging out, you know, always being together. Because we did, I mean, really, we kind of had a structure. We went to spring training every year, got taken out of school, you know, tutored.
Yeah.
We had this kind of pattern every year where spring came and it's a new season, right? It's baseball. And our whole kind of life rotated that way for a while until it didn't anymore. You know what I mean?
No, I agree.
And
it's a long time.
Yeah, and I just feel like that. I go back to that world and I think about we were together so much, and then later on we weren't. Like we were kind of separated in kind of where we're going in life. You know, it's just a weird kind of journey. You look back at it because, you wonder like, God, if we had guidance, maybe we were staying in the game, going to another level. Who knows, right? Because that is the world we knew. That's the only world we knew. And it was a large one, larger than most, you know, people.
Oh,
yeah. You know,
for sure. It was certainly an experience, you know, but, you know, if I look back at it, though, it all just seemed normal, you know, to me. I mean, I remember, you know, even just thinking, you know, how we would, you know, Dad was just, to me, I was more like impressed with, I hate to say, but, you know, like when we would pick players, you know, we would pick, you know, Pete Rose, or if we remember how we would play fast pitch or something. We never, you know, picked that. It was just like, you know, we were more in awe of like he wasn't even in the league at times. You know, it's like, because I remember people asking me that. It's like, how was it? You know, just like, really, it was just, you know, your dad. I mean, you don't even. I mean, I didn't really realize it until Dad was long gone after retiring, of when you can really then be more mature and older and see all the highlights and to realize how, you know, the big name and player he was. Growing up, we didn't even, I don't know about you, that didn't even, it was just Dad, you know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. I'm with you on that. We were really part of normal life too, but it was, if any other kid came in that life, it's a magical world, right? Going down to, so it's different. We just don't know it's that different, I think. And I think that that's kind of one of the things you wish you kind of knew a little more of, because when it changes, it's hard to adapt. But other than that, you're right. There's you go back at it now and you go, wow, that was kind of a fantastical world to live in, you know?
Yeah, and most people, the only people that could relate to that are other, you know, people that were in the same position. But that can also be like, you know, whether they're kids of, you know, musicians or entertainers. I'm sure it's in a different way, but they grew up, you know, in a completely different, you know, type thing too. So, no, there's no doubt. I mean, it's certainly, the older I, you know, get, and, you know, those certainly are great memories. And like you said, you wish you could have taken it in more of just, other than just figuring it was just, you know, another day. You know, and we took it for granted pretty much.
Yeah, no, you're right. And I look, because that's all we knew. That was our life. We didn't know that. You know, we can go here and it's special to someone else, you know. Not so much to us because we could do it so often. But going back to you, though, as a kid, I always did think, like, even that moment we talked about when Dad got yelled at with Don Young underneath the concession stand. We were walking out after a game. It was empty, and the beer vendor yelled at him. Dad went after him. And I'm screaming, Dad, don't. And you're going, hit him, right? You had this thing that you got young, and I never really asked you about it, like, it was something like there was something a little dangerous about you, like you went through something that I never went through, and I don't know if it's just the toughness of being the firstborn, but you did have that thing that I look back at now and go, that you know, you're a little dangerous. Like even my friends, you know, thought that, right? So, but it was great because I'm like, hell yeah, if something happens to me, you guys, you're going to be in trouble. But you carried that, and I don't know if you knew that you carried that, and it was a strong thing. I'm not looking at that as a weak thing. You know what I mean? It was a strong thing. No. It was a strong energy. And I just, you know, I could say it now as a 59-year-old going, yeah, you had that. And so getting back to my final thing here is looking back now, if you did have the tutelage and knowing that your size really wasn't that threatening to a point where you couldn't get, do you think with the right tutelage and putting your mind a certain way and being taught a certain way that you could have been a big leaguer?
All I can say is, obviously, I don't know, but for sure it would have certainly helped. There's no doubt. Absolutely. And again, I go back to, when I then, in my late 20s and then, as played for 30 years, 12-inch at a very competitive level and was very good at it. If I would have taken that process, earlier, yes, that would have certainly helped a lot. Because I was much more, obviously, you're mature. I was much more focused, much more confident in myself. But that's why. But again, that was just the case. Being younger, but it certainly would have helped. Whether or not, you'd make it to the big leagues, who knows? As we know how hard that is. Right. And even people that are really good, can get lost. But to your question, I certainly would have pursued it a lot more. And and who knows? You know what I'm saying? Right. That's for sure. And at least could have said I gave it. I really tried. Whereas I look back now, I just didn't have, and I think some of it was, like you said, a lot of that, I just didn't have that drive, and maybe it be because, again, living under someone's shadow and, growing up, trying to be, the same, it just got to a point to where, you kind of feel like, okay, I don't know what's the word, you don't have an identity type. Growing up, because it's always, but the pressure, even as a kid, that, and you certainly at times hear it and felt it, and so I think it was to a point to where it was just like it just was a relief to then be like, okay, I'm going to try something else. Right. But again, it's much easier to go that way if no one's pushing you and saying, no, stay with it, because you have the talent. Right. You know what I'm saying? Because at that age, you still don't, know what's going on with life and stuff like that. So, but
it's a good answer. I got my own feelings on that, but you were, I felt there was a time that if I got coached at a certain time, but it's not. Now, that's life. It happens, and you're right. Like a lot of things, you got to really get in that place, and I kind of, you see the ones that make it. It's a journey that starts pretty quickly. Today.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Look at again, and then keep going. But look at all the friends we had that were really good athletes too. I mean, I wasn't even the best player on my senior team. I mean, and then certainly when I went to college, but none of those guys that I played with ever, went any. Some people went to the minors, but again, no one. Especially our high school friends who were, no one even went really into any college sports, again, because no one really was pushed. I mean, it was just like you did that. And then, the next phase was to just go to college, and get into the working world or something. So, a lot different, nowadays where it is. Where kids, again, not that most kids don't make it, but they at least, can at a young age be kind of pushed that way and have a lot more. Parents seem to just gravitate to that a lot more. Well, it's probably because of the money that is made. That's a huge
totally
motivation.
I think there is. Yes, in our time, for some reason, that motivation wasn't so much there.
No,
a few guys, but years later, like maybe it picked up.
I just think in our era, we just played every sport. You know what I mean? I mean, that's another thing. If I know there's some guys I know, if they would have just focused on one sport, certainly could have gone farther.
Absolutely. You're right. Right.
But
right. But it's just coming from where we came from. You just think because that baseball.
Oh, yeah.
You got someone who's playing the game at the highest level. That's a gift. To give.
Yeah, for sure.
And so, yeah.
It doesn't mean your son's going to have the gift, though. That's
no, but there's no doubt, man. And there's few that make it. There's no doubt. More are making it seems today because they're getting that. They got to start that gift giving early, So, but you're right. I'm just thinking too, and the world that we grew up to is way different now. I mean, we got to be in a special time and place, and at least we got to kind of have that childhood that was larger than life. That I think in some ways it gave us a cool spirit all the way through. I don't know about you, but
but certainly I would never change it. That's for sure. I mean, there's good parts of it and bad parts of it, but I still wouldn't change it. That's for sure. So I mean, If basically you're saying we grew up kind of, in a fantasy type land, and then expected that would be like that the rest of our life. It wasn't.
And then we end up at the fantasy
and we weren't.
Which is kind of funny. They call it the fantasy camp, and exactly that's kind of what it is. I mean, it makes you think about. We kind of did live in a fantasy. Where we went with our lives. You know what I mean? Where we both went
compared to later. Oh yeah. Well,
you know what I mean?
You and I always laughed that we peaked out at 13.
Mine was 14. There's no doubt.
Okay.
So, it's
anyhow.
Funny. But, all right, Ronnie, that was good. Yeah, thanks for picking up and filling in. Appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. Hopefully, you'll get someone bigger and more entertaining next time.
Stop it, man. That was a good conversation. I'm glad we talked about that. Well, and then maybe we'll see you at Ohana coming up.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Let me know. Okay, Ronnie.
All right.
Great talking to you.
Bye.
See you. Bye.
Bye.
What a great show. I just want to add where to get Randy's book. Iron Man is available now at lulu.com, LULU.com, lulu.com. Put Iron Man in a search bar and order today. Thanks for listening to our show. Special thanks to our cool crackerjacks, Scott Nelson, Jim McCauley, Debbie Foley, Sherry Matarisi, Terry Rankin-Gurovitz, Terry O'Brien, and Gary Tallman. We need some more crackerjacks. Come on, crackerjacks.
This show is made possible by all of them, by all of our subscribers, and to you for listening. If you want to support the show and be a cool crackerjack yourself, subscribe on our Patreon page by clicking the link below this episode or go to our website, www.peanutspopcornandcrackerjacks.com.
Remember to click the follow button for next week's episode and leave a review on Apple Podcasts.
And don't hesitate to write, give us suggestions, or tell us how you're liking the show. Email jeff.ppcpodcast@gmail.com. Or leave a comment on Spotify like Dave. He says, "Great stories, keep them coming. Thanks again, Jeff and Christy." Thank you, Dave.
Thanks, Dave. All right, I usually do a quote at the end, but I'm going to do something different today. I wrote a poem about me and my brother Ron Jr., and it's called Me and My Brother. So here it goes. Into baseball, we were born. When springtime came, it was all about the game. Fit a new hat, swing a big bat. This will be the year. Summer's here. In the El Dorado, on the Edens, Irving Park to Clark, into the neighborhood. Northside gravestones we pass by. Under blue skies, its cathedral flags fly. Crossing Waveland, into Vince's gas station. Here come the fans, autographs in hand. On a high hath, the cops clear a path. Off we go, into the flow. Through the north gate, down the cement staircase. Into the clubhouse, like ritual, we were gloriously habitual. Pick up a glove, grab a baseball, head for the door in the brick wall, open wide into Wrigley Field. Stepping out, I can still feel the empty bleachers all around, this sacred place, our playground. Me and my brother, we were connected. We were close then when he led and I followed. Never in my favor, but nothing was better than the two of us together. Me and my brother, on sacred ground, found and bound and underground, we explore and soar. Through the cracks and the crevices, we discover a secret route to the visitor's dugout. In dirt that smears we appear, it's unclear who we belong to. In Spanish, they speak fast. Pirates dressed in gold and black. Cigarette butts at their cleats, we jump to our feet. standing before Clemente like folklore, and Sanguian trying to reason. Season after season, the Willies, Stargell, the Say Hey Kid, McCovey, and me and my brother. Into baseball we were born, over time, sworn and torn. Springtime came, it was never the same. Me and my brother, with no cover, we roam on our own, far apart, and far from this holy place, our playground, we forever chase.
That's beautiful, babe. Toodaloo.
SantoFilms.com, the place to buy This Old Cub DVDs, posters, and This Old Cub t-shirts. Get yourself one now at SantoFilms.com.